Okay, so I thought I'd make a quick video on how I clean up the visors that come off the printer. This is actually what they look like. They're actually kind of tied together. When the printer prints, at least the ones, some of the ones I have, you have to use what they call as a brim, and you'll see this extra piece of plastic that's on here. This all has to be removed from it. Also, because of the hexagon shapes, you'll see kind of some debris in here. And then where it's a little bit difficult to remove is there's plastic all in between the little ear nubs, I guess, is what they're called on there. Anyway, so the process is, first of all, just separate the two. Use an X-Acto knife. This is, I'll loan this one to you, but you may want to get another one. And just kind of cut down the middle between the two on there. And then you should just be able to break it apart. If you want to, you can just cut around all of that. And the X-Acto knives are pretty sharp, so you just gotta be careful. So anyway, what I found is the best way to do it is I start with this leg here. So where I have kind of the brim in that way. And then what I do is I take off as much as I can there, and there's a little bit of an edge, and for comfort for the user, you want to make sure that that's pretty smooth. So I kind of check that, and then once I do that, I actually turn it around, and then I cut off the other side. I kind of pull it. Now some of these visors, the plastic's a little more brittle than I'd like it to be. I think I've kind of resolved that, but you'll probably find some that are more brittle, and if you break them, don't worry about it, just throw them away. So we can print more on there. But for the most part, all the ones I make from here on out, this next batch, you might run into a few where you have to spend, you may break a few on there. So anyway, I do that and then kind of feel on the edge, make sure there's not any catches on there. So I just kind of run my finger on it. And then what I do is I take my knife and just kind of go around like that. You're not going to get it all out, but you're going to kind of at least cut out some of the debris, some of the fuzz. You'll see in there, maybe some of that, maybe you can see it in the video, but there's just a little bit of debris, a little bit of hairs on there, and that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm just using the edge of the blade to pre-cut that a little bit out of there, just kind of going around. So the other way you can kind of do it is in this direction. So and you can kind of see it probably flying off on there. Da-da-da-da. And then later on, we take a hot gun and kind of clean the rest of it out and then do one last inspection. So I did that. You don't really have to worry about this edge because it's not going to touch anybody anyway. And then the next step is to now remove the pieces that are in here. So there's a little nub for where you put the plastics. I kind of notch it out like that with my blade, and then just kind of push it through. And then where the plastic shield sits underneath that little tab, I just cut it in there. And I used to try to clean that out a little bit more, but it's really probably not necessary. And then you can break off some of it if you want to, but then again, just kind of take your knife and just cut along it like that. So, and then you'll see in the corner there, you have to kind of whittle that out a little bit with a knife. So then I kind of do that. Get as much as I can off of there, just makes a better fit. Looks a little cleaner. And then kind of the other way. And you'll see scars on my hand where I cut myself a few times, so be careful on there. These knives are really very sharp. Do that. So I do that side, and then go to the other side and do the same thing. So I kind of notch it out, and then go in like that to break that seal. And then the same thing, it's kind of do that. Now I actually do these mostly outdoors now because although it was a little cool yesterday, because a lot of debris goes flying on there, so it's easier to clean outdoors. And kind of clean off the edge of that. And you'll find that some of these, this one's actually a pretty good one. This is a fairly easy one. Some are harder than others, but I do think that that's going to improve too, since I worked on improving the material, and I had to dry it out a little bit. It was a little too moist, the filament was, and that can be a problem. So I redid that. All right, so then the last thing you got to do is that I've cleaned this piece, and now I got to go and clean all of this off right here. And you just kind of work around it. I start from this edge and cut kind of around that nub as much as I can, and then kind of at an angle. If you go flat, it works, but if you go a little bit of an angle, just kind of scrape it along. And again, some are easier than others. This one's actually a very easy one. So it's almost a joy to work on. Others are not so much fun. And just kind of clean it up. And again, you don't really, the edge, this is not going to touch anybody, so it doesn't have to be that great. Just looks nicer. And it probably fits the plastic shield just a little bit better if you can get it as close as you can. But it doesn't have to, for comfort reasons, it doesn't have to be smooth. You'll feel a little bit of ridge there, even after you kind of do it all, just because there's just the workmanship of it. So then that's kind of it there. So then I've done that. Oh, and then one last thing is sometimes you might find some fuzz in here, and then you'll feel a little bit of a notch here or there. I do actually take a knife and just kind of do this to it. Just kind of scrape it out like that. So that's how I do that. So that one's pretty much done, except now sometimes, and this one again very clean, but you'll see some little hairs. And so then what I do is I take the hot air gun and take the hot air gun and I just blow the inside out. I'm going to let you use my blue one. It actually blows harder than this one, but this one both work really well. The blue one just blows harder, it looks like. And you'll see it flex a little bit because the gun gets hot. So after you heat it up, you don't want to overly handle the visor until it cools back down, because you can actually kind of deform it. If you do deform it, you can actually heat it up again, and it'll kind of go back into place. So anyway, so there's that step on there. So like that. Okay, and then since you melted the plastic, so let it cool for a second, since you kind of remelted the plastics a little bit and some of the hairs balled up and may have adhered to the actual visor itself. Again, on the outside you don't really have to worry too much about it, but by the way, I missed a little bit here. So just kind of go and do one last cleanup. And then the part that again is the most important is making sure the inside part is smooth. And so, especially since you took a hot air gun to it, then you might want to just do this to it, where it's kind of just scraping it smooth. You can feel it with your fingers as well. You'll tend to find some material here that's a little bit rough, so you just kind of have to clean that up a little bit more. This one wasn't too bad. Yeah, so this one's pretty good. Maybe a little bit right there after heating it. You can kind of tell where it deforms a little bit. With young eyes, you can probably see it a lot better than I can. So anyway, so that's how you do it. So yeah, so it's a 5-minute job or so. That's about it. Some are going to be harder than others, and just do your best. So, and then I know some of these have been breaking as you've been applying them. I think I've probably resolved that. One thing is I went to a new spool of filament that seems better already. Now the batch that you're going to get is going to have a variety of the old spool and the new spool. So you'll see some differences on there. So all right, that's it.